Today, I'm joined by the Minister of Health, the Minister of National Security, and the Minister of Tourism and Transport. I know that this press conference is focused on our continuing work related to COVID-19, but please permit me to offer these words about the news that has dominated global headlines over the past few days and has taken the coronavirus from the headlines. In the midst of the global fight against COVID-19, the world has been reminded of an enemy that seems harder to defeat and a battle that has been waged over centuries. Systemic and institutionalized racism is a stain on modern society. We profess greatness as a generation when we celebrate conquering space or seeing leaders of color in positions of authority. Both, however, ring hollow when neither accomplishment has succeeded in tearing down the system that makes what happened in Minneapolis a week ago possible in 2020. A Black man was murdered by a police officer in the United States. Far from being a surprise, it is the imagery that has provoked international outrage. George Floyd lost his life to the system, and his is only one name that we know. There are countless others in that country and many others who suffer similar fates daily. Black and brown people are under siege every day by a system designed to ensure that they start with a presumption of guilt and spend the rest of their lives trying, often in vain, to be respected. Here at home, our unity has kept us focused and in an excellent position to be an example to the world of how to deal with COVID-19. And yet, there remains an undercurrent of racial tension that comes to the fore the moment we assert the rights of our people in their own land. How can we pretend to be outraged by systemic racism everywhere else except here at home? Our future depends on our ability to confront and deal with our past. We must never forget or diminish the people who live among us, who have experienced firsthand discriminatory laws, policies and practices stating where they should go, where they could live, what they could own, or what they could do or aspire to achieve. Too often, Bermudians have been told in their own country, we can't address race right now. Our clients don't feel comfortable talking about it. Or we can't mandate our membership to dismantle racism in their organizations. We can only guide them. Then we hear statements like, oh, we can't address racism right now. We have to leave that for our children so they can fix it in 20 or 30 years. Addressing the issue of systemic and institutionalized racism is holding us back from reaching our full potential. It is causing capable, qualified Bermudians to be excluded from opportunities in their own country. Time and time again, research shows that when you have a diverse workforce, profits and profitability increases. As a father of two young children, I always think about how this is going to impact them. And the conversations in my household this week with a wife who is American reminded us of the dangers of which persons of color continue to face. From Trayvon Martin to Eric Gardner to Michael Brown to Sarah Reed, DeAndre Campbell, and yes, George Floyd. I think in 10, 20, or 30 years, that could be my child. They could be doing nothing wrong, and yet they could still die by state-sponsored murder. My Bermudian family, it is important to remember that this is not just an American issue. This is a global issue, and that is why you are seeing protests all around the world. We must also not forget our recent history. December 2nd, 2016 still weighs heavily on my heart and soul. I need not remind people of the story because the images are forever imprinted in our collective consciousness as a people. As many of you know, but some may not, by order of our Constitution, the government of Bermuda does not have operational control over the police service. That power remains vested in the governor, as Bermuda still is a colony of the United Kingdom. However, this government has taken several steps to build a more equitable society. And Bermuda's Attorney General, the Honorable Kathy Lynn Simmons, will be doing a Facebook Live discussion this weekend to expound on some of those initiatives which have already been approved by the cabinet, and also to give her thoughts on legal reform in Bermuda. It is ironic that on a weekend when the world has been forced to confront these complex and challenging issues, we lost Eva Hudson. She believed and taught that Bermuda's cultural affinity towards sweeping the issue of race under the carpet was unhealthy and creating a festering cancer, rotting away at the core of our island. She believed that if we did not confront the issue of race, we would never be able to overcome the inherent destructiveness of racism and discrimination. And she fought tirelessly to get us all to understand that racism doesn't go away if you just don't talk about it. She pushed and challenged all of us to do better on race in spite of the abuse, discrimination, and disrespect she was subjected to over the years. Dr. Hodgson reminded us that most people don't want to talk about race, but that we must talk about race. We must know our history and know that there is pain and hurt in that history, and there was a struggle that got us to where we are today. Dr. Eva Hodgson is the very embodiment of a freedom fighter, and as we mourn her passing, we must commit to seeing her work continue. No more second-class citizens, only first-class men and women.